Welcome to the Business Surgeon. My name is Keith Lloyd, and I have with me today a very, very important guest. This guy is amazing. His name is Michael Bridgman, and Michael is he owns Time Marketing and Consulting. He's written two books, and he's in the process of putting another one out. And so today we're going to actually talk to Michael a little bit about um, Unlock and the 77 productivity shortcuts, 77 productivity shortcuts for busy entrepreneurs, as well as the new book. And the reason for this is more to help our listeners understand exactly what it takes to put together a book. A book is a very good marketing tool for you and for your business, and it gets you out there, gives you credibility, and it gives your readers some good education, but also maybe turns them into a client at some point as well. So welcome, Michael. It's very nice to have you here.
Thank you, Keith. It is fabulous to be here, my friend. It's been some time since we've done a little interview together, so it's great to reconnect and talk about some pretty awesome stuff that entrepreneurs and business owners can really put into play to their advantage. I mean, we're all here. Your audience is here to grow, right? They want to grow their revenues, they want to grow their bottom line, they want to grow their top line, they want to grow their companies. But also, I think they just want to grow on a personal level for a lot of them as well, because we're unfinished projects, right? So, if I can be of service to your audience in any way, shape, or form, bring some value today, maybe help them level up their game or a lot, then let's have some fun, and we can dive into this topic of book publishing, the media that surrounds it, and how to get it done in an effective way.
Yeah, and I mean, this is, like the end game is basically to sell more books as well. I mean, there's a lot of that too. It isn't just to become more credible or more positioned as an expert in your field. This is also, like let's make some extra money for our listeners as well within all this,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, well, that's the whole idea, right? Is to get a little to get wealthier on the way to becoming fantastic, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're really good at that. You do that with a lot of your clients. You're a marketing expert. So let's talk a little bit about, like why would anyone want to write a book in the first place?
Because they're crazy. That's why. No, I mean the real reason I think people want to write a book is, for a lot of us, is that a book takes this kind of our own personal genius and some of the things that we do really, really well and phenomenally well. And now we're also putting a caveat on this, my friends, that you're writing a nonfiction book that sort of shows people how to do something. Because I'm also a fiction writer myself. I don't show it to anybody yet, but the fact of the matter is, if you're writing a nonfiction book, you're putting it out there into the marketplace because you have a genius. You have something you're really fabulous at, it's a customized system for you and you want to share it or whatever that is. And you want to put that into the marketplace in a way that is long lasting. It is a way that is fulfilling that benefit to other people over time, over and over and over again, but doing so in such a way that doesn't continue to cost you your most valuable asset, which is your energy and your focus.
Yeah.
Right. So a book is a great way of really laser focusing that concept and that education that you've got and that wisdom and those ideas that you have, focusing them to then share that with an audience so that the book can keep doing the hard labor for you and you don't have to.
Well, and it's also it's a time consumer to do it, though, as
Oh,
well.
for sure. For sure.
And the end game is to have something that you have tangible. But I mean, you know, there's a lot of time involved in doing this, right?
There is a huge amount of time, Keith, but I think as business owners, as entrepreneurs, your audience here are all understanding, I think, of the fact that we do something on the front end that costs us more time than is rewarding us initially, with the idea that we build a company and therefore build a structure and system that then provides for ourselves and our family in an exceedingly wide or a large degree versus how much time we have to commit later, right? Being an entrepreneur is automatically an investment. It's automatically, we're used to this. You're investing time up front to grow a company that rewards you far greater later.
Yeah.
A book is the same thing. You're putting all this time and all this energy and into creating this asset, this thing, this this phenomenal book. You're putting all this energy. This isn't mine, by the way. I'm just pulling this up. You're creating all of this energy.
That's not just a backdrop, you know?
No. I know a lot of people say that, like, oh my gosh, that's a really cool backdrop. Where'd you find it? I'm like, no. This is my office. But you put all this time and energy into this, right?
Yeah.
That ultimately is going to pay off in the future, right? I mean, Mike Lipkin's a great guy. He's an interesting speaker. I've watched him speak twice, bought his book. He's continuing to speak to me long after he's long finished, right? The commitment to that book. And he can sell that book a million times over, but he only has to do the work once. And I think that's an important caveat for people if they want to write a book, is that they're attempting to duplicate their efforts over and over and over again without having to put any more effort in.
Express it to every single person, right?
Yeah. And they're long lasting. The cool thing about books, Keith, is that they're this ancient form of communication that continues to last, right? I got, as you know, my first degree was in the performance art space. So as a performance artist, you've got one time, like you're performing this on the Saturday night, and that's it. The Sunday night show is going to be different, right? The Friday night one was different. So you've got this. I was always operating under this, like, one show, one night, let's make it amazing kind of mentality. But with a book, you can build it, you can make it. It's like recorded music. You build it, you make it, and it's out there and it keeps producing. So I think that's one of the big appeals for a book. But the primary one, my friend, is authority.
Yeah.
The primary one is authority.
You're sharing your knowledge and your expertise with the reading audience, basically.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Let's just say that there's somebody out there that's listening right now that is like, well, I'd never write a book. Like, why would I write a book? Like, okay, we went through the whys, but then like the logistics. So deciding, okay, I'll take that leap of faith and, invest some time, but what do I write about? Right.
Yeah.
Like there's so many books out there. There's so many business books out there. There's so many, like, you name it, nonfiction out there, all about everything from self-development, improvement to business to, right? So how does one decide really, like, what is it that, like, who's going to pick up a book that they write, and like what is it that they need to decide in terms of what they're going to actually put into this book?
Great question. So first off, and this is going to drive back to marketing. So this might be a bit of a sort of backwards way of answering your question. But the first thing has to be first. What's the intention of the book?
Yes.
Right? This drives back to what's the purpose of the book. If the purpose of the book is to sell a whole bunch of copies of the book and make a fortune with your book, there's a different set of objectives and strategies to execute that. Then there is, if Keith Lloyd, the business surgeon, wants to write a book on business planning, for example, which would be something you could easily write on, a topic you know lots about, right? So you could easily write that book and put it into the marketplace in such a way that what it says and what it does is really obvious. And you're actually using the book to build authority and trust so that a business owner, might be watching this, might be me, comes forward and says, I love the way this man thinks. I want to hire him to help me execute my business plan or to help me create it. They're two very different goals and objectives. And the reason that I say you start there is because the titling has to be different. The marketing behind the book has to be different. The premise behind why someone should pick it up has to be different because the end goals are totally different. So if, for example, your primary goal is to become a best-selling author, to make a ton, like a New York Times, not an Amazon one, because that's not that hard, but I like a New York Times best-selling author, if that's your objective, right, then you've got to go and you do things like Seth Godin's linchpin, right? This is a concept inside this book that is impossible to find somewhere else the way he's presented it. Why? Because Seth Godin wants to sell 2 million copies of his book, Linchpin.
Right.
This is a business venture for Seth Godin, right? So the book is about how to ramp up your skills how to become really critical to your business as an entrepreneur, or how to become valuable to your business as an employee and get raises and everything else. It's not a new concept.
Right.
Right. But the way he markets the book, the way he frames the book, being a linchpin, it's counterintuitive. Everyone's like, oh, I don't want to be that important. Right. It's too much stress on me, but he's showing you how to do it without actually stressing yourself. There's a lot of things that are going into this book that make it unique in the marketplace. The concepts and the presentations are all really about leveling up your skill set, finding ways of leveraging your time. It's not brand new information. It's brilliantly presented by Seth Godin, but it's not revolutionary. But the fact of the matter is he's presenting it in a way that is unique, and you can't find it somewhere else because this is the way he's presented it. Now, if you are Russell Brunson, right? .com secrets. This is obvious. He wants to sell his software.
Right.
So this whole thing, .com secrets, this isn't mysterious. He's showing you how to build an online sales process, basically. And it's obvious from the cover of the book. His intention is never to make money from his book. Never, ever was it ever. His intention is to make money from his software. So this one has an obvious title and very clear intentions behind it, whereas Linchpin, Are You Indispensable, is mysterious. And it's a bit enchanting. Like, how does that work exactly, right? So these are two very distinct and different marketing strategies because the goals of each product is totally different. So that's where you start. When you want to write a book, you start there. Now, I'm sort of skipping one step, and that is that.
Let me get this straight before you go there.
Sure. Okay.
So you sit down and you go, I'm going to write a book.
Yeah.
There's two reasons you could write a book. One is for sales.
Yeah.
Right? One is to kind of talk about your expertise.
Correct.
Do it in a different way than what everyone else does.
That's right.
Okay?
Yeah.
I just want to make that clear for our listeners.
Absolutely. Thank you. Yeah. So one is definitely because you want to turn your book into a product that sells, that you make profit from. And the other is one that is leading clients to trust you and understand that you have a structured way of approaching their problem that they're facing, and that can lead them down the track of becoming a client of yours.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now some people might say, oh, well, can't they do both? You can accidentally do both. but the fact is you're never going to find this book in Barnes and Noble and in chapters and on, right? It's not going to happen. Seth Godin's entire intention is to sell millions of copies. So you're going to find it in the big distribution houses. So that just goes to show you right there that the premises behind the book are very different. So you could, by accident, accomplish what Seth Godin did, which is write a phenomenal book that sells millions of copies and have people come to you and ask for marketing coaching.
Yeah, but
right,
to be realistic about this to our listeners, that is a very rare bird.
Yeah. It's Seth Godin is one of the best marketers on the planet for a reason. Yeah. and that's just the way it worked out for him. Most of the time when I'm coaching anybody on bringing a book into fruition, it's as a marketing tool, to be really blunt, yep. Right? And honest. And it is and our intentions with it are super specific. We're controlling distribution. We're putting the book only in very specific places. And the intention of the book is to build trust and authority. So the person reading it, they don't have to finish it, to be honest, Keith. Yep. Right? They go, wow, I love what Keith is saying in this book. I want to move forward and hire him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So would you say that your two books, Unlock and 77, are more about kind of talking about your authority as opposed to selling a whole slew of books? Is that kind of what was your intention for those two books?
So they were for very specific offers. Mm-hmm. So Time Marketing and Consulting has evolved as a company over the last 4 years. Our initial offer into the marketplace was one very much about helping people set better goals and set better intentions. And so the idea behind Unlock was giving people a window into unique way in which I do that goal setting process.
Mhm.
And Unlock talked about the goal setting process. And from Unlock, what we were looking to do was increase our traffic on basically some consulting offers that were about business planning and business mapping and that type of thing. So Unlock was very specifically designed to illustrate my goal setting system that I use personally and that I've had success with, while at the same time, polishing up the prospect and encouraging them to reach out and connect with us as a company for planning out what they want to do with their lives.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And
Okay.
77 Productivity Shortcuts is the same. It's that's a very easily digestible book. You've read it, you love it. Yeah, it's a really cool tool. And that's because in the marketplace, us as a company realized that the goal setting element was not hitting what we wanted it to in the marketplace as far as our objectives were concerned. We changed our offer, right? It was more about going, okay, so many business owners that I talk to are going, I have no idea how to do the shit that you're asking me to do. I'm already tapped out. I've already worked 65 hours this week. I got nothing left. So then we're like, okay, let's solve that problem.
But then, isn't that why they bring people like you and I in as consultants to help?
For sure it is. Yeah.
That, right?
Yeah. So it was, to me, that was the amuse bouche. That was our appetizer for going, oh my gosh, okay, if I am more productive, if I am more time efficient, I'll have space to hire Keith and implement what he's talking to me about. I'll have space to hire Michael and get this marketing to help my business grow that I'm looking for, right? So that was the premise behind that. And it's been very, very successful. So, I mean, Unlock did fine on its own as a book, and it's a great book. It's actually, to me, it's far more valuable than 77 Productivity Shortcuts. But ironically, the amuse bouche, the appetizer that was 77 Productivity Shortcuts, was a more effective way of getting us traction in business.
So you learned a lot from both those books and how to actually.
Yeah.
So okay, so now that the listener has basically gotten to that place where they're like, okay, I know, I'm either going to sell it, I'm either going to create this book to be able to
two goals.
let people know expertise, or I'm going to do it basically, to get sales of the book.
Yeah,
right?
I want to be an author.
Okay, so now that they've determined that, and there's a lot of structure behind writing a book.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? So really quick, short summary of maybe you could help the listener understand what they need to think about when they're actually sitting down to put some pen to paper.
Yeah. Okay. So first off, your phone is your most important asset in this equation. Okay. The phone is the most important asset because you can speak a book into existence far easier than you can write it.
Okay.
So all of the books that I've written, all the chapters I've written in compilation books, I normally click this sucker on, take my dogs for a walk, and talk about the subject.
Okay.
And then for your audience, they can write this down. I send those audio files to rev.com, rev.com. And I'm not an affiliate for them. I'm just saying they have an awesome service. And they type up what I've written or what I've said.
Okay.
Okay.
So it's a transcription service.
It's a transcription service. It's done. You can have somebody physically do it, which is more expensive, or you can have their bots do it. Okay. Depending on what stage of the book evolution I'm at, I choose differently.
Yeah. And right. there are a few different kinds of, not just transcription, but also now AI that will basically write a book for you.
Yes, right. So and the biggest thing that I find there is that when I can verbalize my ideas, I get them out of my head and literally onto screen / onto paper, and then I can start to puzzle piece them together. So it might take me a week of dog walks to really sort of formalize all the concepts I want to brush on. And then from there, I normally trim a lot of the fat. Okay. That's not going to work. That's too much. That's a tangent, right? And I try and narrow down the focus. And then what I do is you have to think about the reader's journey. I call it the client journey, but the reader's journey in your book, right? And to me, the biggest driver that's going to change someone's behavior is always story. It's always narrative.
Yeah.
Right? We just experienced it. I could talk about the fact that my business evolved, right? And businesses have to evolve their offers, et cetera, et cetera. But my story about writing one book and it not doing as well to promote my business than writing another one that did is a story that illustrates that narrative and helps somebody understand far easier than if I just berate them with information.
Right.
Right.
Well, people like to hear stories, period.
They like to hear stories. The only thing that's ever shifted someone's perspective is a story.
Yep.
That's it. That's the only thing.
It's relatable and it's memorable. It's not just information.
That's right.
There's emotion, there's everything behind it.
And story does the beautiful thing, Keith, of allowing us to see the world from someone else's perspective.
Right. Right.
And when that happens, when you're open to that, then changes can be made real.
Absolutely. And we're going to get into that in a little bit.
Okay.
Because we're going to talk about the next one.
Yes. So
now
ultimately,
that we kind of got, so I just want to shorten this up a little bit.
Yeah,
now that we've kind of gotten to the place where all these ideas are on paper, you've gotten them into Rev or a transcription service or anything else. Okay. And you've organized your thoughts and you've done all those things. Now what?
So then what happens is the client themselves, they go through a journey during the reading of a book. And this is the same journey that we all go through when we're buying something. When we're buying into a concept, when we're buying a car, when we're buying our cup of coffee, right? We go through this, this basically internal process. We check mark these boxes. Yep. And this has been time proven over marketing strategies and psychology over and over again. So the first thing we have to believe in is the tool itself, right? So if you're marketing a system of structuring new goals, for example, like Unlock did, I have to get the reader to believe that goal setting and having a goal setting system and having my goal setting system is going to change their life.
Right.
Right. The first thing that they have to buy into is the tool. They have to buy the vehicle or the tool or the system that you're presenting. They got to buy. Okay, I get it.
Like any sales, it's an emotional decision.
It's an emotional decision, right? And so you have to get them to buy in. So the first third, or basically, to me, a book is divided up into 5 sections. The first one is the intro, right, where you're introducing your concept and why it's important, and basically giving yourself a little section for bio so that they know why you're an authority on that subject.
Right.
Second section is you introduce the vehicle or the tool or the system that you're going to present to them and convince them why it's critical.
Yes.
So that they buy in. The second thing that's going to happen, though, is Keith is immediately going to say, that's a great idea, goal setting, but it's never going to work for me, blah, 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 blah. So the third part of your book has to then go through and debunk all of those internal objections that Keith is going to have to the product or to the system or to the service. You've got to knock those things down. And the more creative you do with that, the more effective your book's going to be.
Right.
Right. You knock down these blocks. And then ultimately, the fourth section is then about the next set of roadblocks, which are the external ones. Oh, if I do this, my partner's going to think I'm an idiot. Or if I start practicing meditation in the morning, I won't have time with my kids, right? All of these different things. So all these external elements. Oh, it's great because, Michael wrote this book, but, his business was thriving and he had all this free time on his hands and blah, 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 right? So but this is what people say to themselves, right? So then the next part of your book has to convince them that all of those external objections are unworthy of them. You just have to start knocking those things off, bump, 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 bump. So now they've gone through a process. You've illustrated the power of what it is you're showing them. You've helped them overcome their internal objections and all the things inside that are going to be preventing them from moving forward. And then the fourth part of your book basically says, okay, and this is how you're going to increase in your status. This is how society is going to see you. And these are all the external things this is how you're going to save your time, blah, 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 all those different elements, right? And we dive into there. And then in the end, the fifth part is, of course, a conclusion section of your book. Now, this could be one chapter, it could be 3 or 4 chapters, but you start to bring the ideas and you're tying them back together again. You're putting bows on everything and you're wrapping up what it is your book is, and you're reiterating how what you've presented them is a great asset because it's unique in this way. It helps them overcome their internal stuff because of this, helps them overcome their external stuff because of that, and then you wrap it up in a tight little bow.
There's a certain level of motivation that comes in that last section because they can read the book,
Yeah.
but if they don't actually do anything about it.
Absolutely. Yeah. And if it's a book that's leading them to, let's say, reach out to Keith to get consulting services or anything, the last part, right, of that book has a lot to do with calls to action, right? Go here, move, this is your next stage to, or this is the next steps for you, and you're illustrating what those things are. Because once people buy into the concept, they overcome their internal, overcome their external. The next thing you want to go is go, okay, I'm ready. What's next? So if you don't present that in your conclusion, then the book will also fall flat.
Right. So now the book's written.
Now the book's written. Yeah.
What?
So I won't dive too deep into this because it's lots of nuance, because it's so based on what those goals are, right? So if, for example, it's like one of these how-to books, there's lots of different print to order services that you can lock arms with, and you can essentially attempt to sell the book through your own online process, right?
So what I'm hearing though is that now you have to develop a strategy for distribution.
And I would do that ahead of writing the book.
Well, but I mean, now you have to
at least ahead of your final edit of the book.
Yeah, now you have to execute it though.
Yeah. So, and then you develop your distribution strategy. So, if that's Amazon, that's Amazon. If it's, we use a great service called Ingram Spark, and Ingram Spark, now once again, not an affiliate to the program, they're just awesome. You need an ISBN number, which in Canada is free, which is very cool. And you get that up there, and then Ingram Spark will distribute your book if you ask them to oh gosh, like 150,000 different outlets across North America. So it's a big distribution range, might even be more than that. So
can I just circle back for a second? What is an ISBN number?
ISBN number is a unique book number.
Yeah.
I can't remember what the IS stands for. It's like international something book number. Okay. And essentially it's a numerical number, right? Like a barcode that is specific to your book.
Almost like a UPC code is for retail
for a product
item. Yeah.
Okay. Exactly the same thing. So it's the exact same thing, just in the book format.
Okay, cool.
And if you want to get public, like if you want to go and have your book distributed in any major platform, including Amazon, it needs an ISBN number.
Okay. Now there's also the decision of, so there's so many different avenues. Okay, now you got your book, and if you're an expert in this field, let's just say consultant like you or I.
Sure.
Now it's like, okay, how do we want to distribute it?
Yeah.
So if we're going to use it as a marketing tool, right? It might be a $4.99 deal, get it through this, get it through our website, whatever it might be, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. And then there's all the other ways, but I mean, the traditional ways are always the hardest, which is to get it into the major bookstores, all those kinds of things.
Yeah, because like any, so essentially, I'm still in retail, right? So I do a lot of retail sales. Yeah. And the biggest downfall that most retail people run into is that the manufacturers are crappy at marketing their own product.
Yeah.
So you get a product into your store, and I own a pet business, as you can see by the right-hand side of all of my books here, right? So I get a new form of cat treat in, and there's no marketing behind it. So it's like, it's left for me to come up with all this material. The manufacturers that do the best in the marketplace tend to have a lot of really good and robust marketing assets and strategy for you. And why I'm saying that is because if you want your book to sell really well at Barnes and Noble or Chapters, then ultimately you've got to do a ton of pre-legwork to build up the demand for the book. Because here's what I'll tell you as a retailer. If what you're offering to me jives with my core values as a company, and I've had 1,200 clients walk in and ask for it, you better believe I'm going to order a heck of a lot of your product. Absolutely. In other words, if you've written a great book, AKA, Linchpin by Seth Godin here, Seth Godin did something like 350 interviews in the lead up and in the first 10 days of launching this book. Yeah. Right? So he's creating this bubble, this massive appetite for what he wrote, right? And he is on all sorts of major outlets. He's all over New York City with this thing. He's all over these places, right? He's even willing to buy billboards to promote his book, right? So that he's got this stuff. So if you're gonna be a published author and make money from your book sales, then it is a business venture, which means you need to be marketing and advertising and creating that strategy long ahead of time and be doing it and churning it out. In other words, have the demand for your book pre in place so that when Amazon gets it or when Chapters or Barnes & Noble get it, they're like, yes, we need to order, 8,000 copies for the for Vancouver and, the surrounding area because we know we're going to sell that. So that's the way to do that effectively. And it's not easy. You're right, Keith. It's not easy.
No, it's a lot of legwork. Digital marketing is a far easier way to market a book.
Yes. But the results are also thinner.
Why people come to you.
What's that? Sorry, Keith?
Which is why people come to you. Fair enough.
Yes. Yeah. Right. So they get that stuff organized. And if you're going to be using it to market your own business, well, then you have software decisions to make too.
Right.
Not that we're trying to overwhelm anybody. That's why you and I are consultants and we consolidate this information. But ultimately, you should, my friends, have a clear idea as to everything that's going to be asked of you as you leap in, because you're going to encounter stuff that Keith and I can't predict. We might as well help you prepare for the things that we can. Right?
Absolutely. And I would also say that, one of the things that would be really smart for our listeners to think about is to have some physical copies of the book.
Yeah.
No matter where they go, right? They can hand it out. Hey, here's a copy of my book. Love to share it with you, whatever it might be. That is your primary marketing tool for the next year and a half or 2 years, basically, right? Yeah. And it's new to somebody. So as somebody I heard say the other day, it's new. It's a new book. If it's new to them, it's a new book, right?
Sure. Yeah.
So that said, okay, so anyone that would like to learn more about writing a book and would like to get maybe a little bit of help or some guidance, how can they reach you, Michael?
Yeah, so they can check me out at michaelbridgman.ca. So they can go check out my website, and they can take a look there. They can, of course, pick up a copy of the book that you and I are about to talk about.
Yes.
And they'll get a chance to, if they want to, where volume number 2 is coming out in less than a year, or about a year, I should say. So they can even participate in their next book if they want to dip their toe in and see how writing suits them. So those are also some really good methods. And you can find me on social too, right? So the best way actually is to check out my YouTube channel, Marketing Wizards Inner Circle. And that's it's a small but growing channel at this point, and we do lots of really cool content.
Perfect. And if you missed that, we'll revisit all this at the end of the show as well.
Sure.
So,
yeah.
So that's one way of creating a book. Take your own idea, create, write,
yes,
sell, right? Market, right? There are other ways to be able to create a book, and it's in some ways there's a lot less legwork in the writing, but there's a lot more legwork in the promotion. So let's talk about your next project, Michael, the one that's coming out in a couple of weeks.
The one that, Keith, you're an author in. You've written a brilliant chapter on helping business owners accomplish incredible things. So people should check it out.
Well, thank you for this promotion. I appreciate that.
Yeah, you're welcome. It's great.
But this is really a way for people to kind of get a book out there or get themselves into a book if they really don't have, if they don't feel like they have a story, a big story to tell,
yes,
or a whole bunch of expertise. You have, every one of our listeners out there has some kind of life experiences that are worthy of, talking about and sharing with the human race.
Absolutely.
8 billion people on this earth. There's a few people that would probably love to have that kind of information in their head so they have better knowledge and don't make as many mistakes. And
there you go. There you go.
Right? So let's talk about the new book.
Okay, so the new book is a compilation book And I basically collated and edited this book with my good friend Jake Fowler, and it is called Hunger for the Hustle. So it is a book of 28 authors, and each author shares an incredible struggle to success story. And they range from people that had massive cancer scares and were told they had a very short period of time to live, to what they did to now being alive and thriving today and owning their own business. It talks about simple stories where just what a shift in perspective by leaving one place and moving to another and seeing the world in a different way opened up an entirely new way of living for them. And it has lots of practical business advice as well inside this book, because it is Hunger for the Hustle. So it talks about the idea of side hustles and growing a company and those types of things. And so there's some incredible stuff there about, what people did when they encountered some serious business challenges, like massive business challenges. We have one story in there about a woman who lost $1 million in a year and how she got it all back again within about 14 months. So just some incredible journeys inside this book. And it's a beautiful, gorgeous book. Hunger for the Hustle is what it's called. It launches in digital format on December the 3rd. And you can pick up your copy for just a couple of bucks. So we're having a big launch event on December the 3rd, and it's a very, very, very exciting project for us. And we're thrilled to have all of these pieces finally come to fruition, because getting a few people to walk in a row and in a line is tough. Getting 28 authors
herding
is
28
like herding cats.
entrepreneurs.
Yeah. Entrepreneurs, yeah.
Cats.
Yes.
So this is 2 years in the making. And,
Yeah.
just to let our listener know, not to be too shameless in promotion of this, but, we are very fortunate, or you are very fortunate, to have gotten Les Brown to write the forward for this.
Yeah, so a couple of years ago when COVID started, I had the opportunity to join a very exclusive program for speakers that Les Brown was teaching. He was taking a lot of what he would teach in a physical space, and with COVID happening, 2.5 years ago when it all really got started in March of 2020, he was like, I can't run my courses anymore. He decided to shift his company and move it to an online opportunity to be taught by Les Brown. And so I was part of an initial exclusive group. There was, probably about 50 of us, maybe, Keith, that were given permission. We applied, got permission to join his program. They expanded it and broadened it after they'd kind of gone through their first 6-8 weeks of iteration and figured out what was good. But I got the chance to be as part of, we were a pilot program. It was so exciting. I literally bought the program from my barber chair. Like, I'm sitting there, mask on and everything like that, getting a haircut before they're about to shut everything down. Or sorry, just after they opened everything up in June of that year, I think, here in our area. And I'm breaking out my credit card, literally I'm in the chair. I'm in the stupid chair. And I'm like, I'm watching this thing and I can't. I'm reading the words as he's talking about what we're going to do in the program. And I'm like, what? Les Brown's going to teach me for 12 weeks? Where's my card? Like, and I'm looking around for it and everything else. The woman in the chairs, or I'm sitting in the chair, the woman behind me is kind of going like, what the hell are you doing?
Can you sit still?
Oh yeah, totally. Right. And sure enough, I'm breaking out my card and I'm typing it in, and she's like, what are you doing? I'm like, just a second. Anyway, so yeah, from the barber chair, because I didn't want to miss out. Anyway,
So
long story short, though, I wouldn't say he's a friend. He's an acquaintance of mine now. We've spent some time together. I've been privately coached by him, which was amazing. And he is a big part of how this book came to fruition, because that's where I met Jake. And a lot of the speakers that were in that initial crop are all a part of this book. And so he is near and dear to our hearts, and we're near and dear to his. What's that?
And a few that weren't.
And a few that weren't. Yeah. Keith is one of those ones that we wrangled in later.
Oh no, I'm very, very honored to have been asked to do this. I mean, this is a very new type of venture for me.
Oh, it's good, man. You did really, really well. You did very, very well.
I appreciate
Yeah.
that very much. So Hunger for the Hustle is the book,
Yes,
or by Les Brown. 28 entrepreneurs that just they have demonstrated the epitome of resilience.
for sure.
And I think, one of the things that we haven't really talked about is because we talked about this at the very beginning of this, like, why would you go
Yeah.
write a book, right? The purpose of this book is to inspire others.
Yes. And one of the key things for me, Keith, is that, and we'll get to the charity element of it in just a second if we can, but there are the internet has given this massive platform for people to be able to speak and get their message out there and be heard. But the tricky part about that is that the masters of marketing on the internet are gobbling up a lot of attention. And not that I have any problem with you guys, but the Dean Graziosis, the Tony Robbins, the Marie Forleos, the Tom Bilyeu's, they're incredible individuals. They're amazing people, and they're doing incredible work. But they have such huge leverage and such a huge calling. They're gobbling up all of this attention span all the time. And what Jake and I talked about was that Keith Lloyd has something really incredible to offer the world, but he's being drowned out by these other loud voices. I know how to market stuff. I know how to get people's attention. What if we put together a compilation of these voices and help them get heard? And that was really one of the primary drivers of the book, besides just teaching people and having a great book out there for people to help people, was that there's a lot of these entrepreneurs that have incredible ideas that on their own are never going to get heard. It's just not going to happen, right? They're just going to get buried, and they'll struggle to try and get their voices heard and probably give up. So why not start something that they can join, and the chorus of their voices together in this particular format we can help them get great traction, get great reach, and using our connection with Les Brown, obviously, to then leverage some of that big audience opportunity.
Absolutely. And I would say that, I liken this in some ways to Chicken Soup for the Soul, Jack Canfield
Yeah.
and Mark Victor Hansen put together long ago.
Very long. Yeah.
And quite frankly, you're right. And as entrepreneurs, we don't have a lot of time to waste. I want to say, not waste, but we got to utilize our time in a way that is going to be the most effective for us.
You're growing your companies, and that's where you should be focused.
But within all that, if you're trying to get information, you're more apt to listen to the Tony Robbins and the Russell Brunsons and all these guys. And, that's great, but we all forget where all those other people, where they started, and we all forget where we started. And it can be very daunting for anyone who's starting a new business to actually go, well, how can I be a Tony Robbins?
Yeah.
Right. What this book, I believe, does is it shows people that it doesn't matter how many times you fall down, right? If you get back up and you keep going with whatever it is that is your passion, right?
Yep.
You will fulfill what it is that is your purpose in life. And I believe that, whatever your passion is, that is your actual purpose for being on this earth.
Mm-hmm. Yep, absolutely. Love it.
And so this book is really meant to start people at that grassroots level, right? It's not, I'm going to be Tony Robbins. And I've had a client or two that think that they, in a year I can have 1 million YouTube followers.
Sure.
Guess what? Maybe you can, but even Tony Robbins didn't do that. It took him a long time to build that up, right?
Well, and yeah, lots of context around that for sure. Sure. Yeah.
Lots of resilience as well, right?
Yeah.
Lots of resilience. Like Tony's been around for 35 years. At
least,
yeah. Right. So like anyone who's starting out, that's daunting. That is daunting. I know my daughter is like, I'm an entrepreneur, serial entrepreneur now. And quite frankly, like my daughters look at me and go, I do not want to have any part of that. Right. Because they see what I went through. Right. They see how hard that struggle was in the beginning. Right. And that's why you have to be hungry, as Les says. Right. But this book is meant to inspire people to keep going. It's not just to start, it's to keep going.
Yep. Yep. That's very much what this book is about. You're right.
Yeah. And
Yep.
so the purpose of this interview is to talk about like how to put a book together, but it's also to talk about why you want to put a book together, right? Which is
Yep.
what we've done. And um, and I also want to say, like, within this will go out to social media, all those kinds of things, and we'll include the link for the book. We'll include some other things within that, because I feel, because my passion is to help every person that wants to be an entrepreneur fulfill that dream and do it with purpose, do it with joy, and fulfill that passion that they have burning in their heart.
Mm-hmm.
They really want to like change their life and change the world in some small way, right? And that is my passion. And I know you're very much along those same lines as well. That's why we gel well together as friends, as business friends, as partners, you name it. And I just want to, like, I'm really grateful to know you, Michael.
Oh,
Uh,
thanks, Keith. Right
and
back at you, buddy.
thank you. And I I want this book to succeed because there's so many people out there that are so afraid to
Hmm.
start a business, that are so afraid of what can happen, like all those things. I want this book to inspire people, right?
Yeah.
So, is there a link set up already for people to go and look at? Like, I know we talked about the Facebook page.
Yep.
Has
Yeah. The Facebook group that's coming. Yep.
Okay, so do you have any idea what that might look like, or will we just add this later?
So the Facebook group
Just the link.
itself,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So what we're doing is we're having a Hunger for the Hustle sort of exclusive invitation only Facebook group. And those of you who are watching are invited to join us. That Facebook group will open up on the 29th of November.
Yeah.
So the 29th of November, that Facebook group will open up. And that's where you'll get the chance to register for the launch event on December the 3rd. And from the December the 3rd event, you'll be given the chance to buy the book at a really, really reduced price. Plus, we give a whole bunch of extra incentives. In fact, we're going to give you one of my own other books, 77 Productivity Shortcuts for Busy Entrepreneurs. So that's going to be part of the incentive. But the best first step for anybody watching this is to join that Facebook group while it's open for joining. After December the 3rd, we're actually going to close that, or the Facebook group will only be open to people that buy the book. So from the 29th until the 3rd, you can join the Facebook group free of having to buy the book. We want you to buy the book, obviously, but you can join it. It's an exclusive way of building some momentum and some promotion that way. And all of the authors, here's the cool thing about this, is because there's 28 authors, each one of us has committed to going live and delivering some value inside that Facebook group 3 or 4 times a year. So you'll have a chance to connect with the actual authors. You can ask us questions. You'll be able to soak up some of the other really valuable content that we put in there, right? So Keith is going to jump in there and talk about strategic planning for your business at some point, right? I'll probably stop in and be talking about, different ideas about how to market yourself online or offline and grow a company and systemize and stuff like that. So ultimately, those are topics we'll cover inside that group, and you can join it for free.
So for anyone who is looking to become an entrepreneur, is an entrepreneur, looking to be inspired, to stay resilient, keep going, all those things, this is a great place to be.
Yeah.
And there's a charitable component.
And there's a charitable component. So all proceeds from the sale of this book, be it the physical book that launches in the new year or the digital book, will be going to Beanie's Arc. So Beanie's Arc is a charitable foundation out of the UK, and I cannot remember the name of this very rare form of children's cancer that they're researching. I apologize, I can't remember the name of it. But a very close friend of Jake's, basically his nephew, died from this particular cancer at a very early age, 14, 15 months. And it was a terrible tragedy in his life, but more importantly, even in his parents' life. But they've gone on to put almost $30,000 into this fund And Beanie's Arc has there's lots of different money coming in. But what we want to do is we're big believers that, and this is something Les Brown has said before too, that children may be 30% of our current society, but they're 100% of our future. And so if we can help these children survive this horrifying, very, very under-researched disease, then we feel really proud about that. So even the proceeds from the book are going to there, and it's a really worthy cause, and we're very excited to support it.
It's a very long name. It's rhabdomyosarcoma.
Yeah.
Myosarcoma. And so anyone that wants to find out more about Beanie's Arc or about rhabdomyosarcoma.
Yeah.
Whoa,
it's a mouthful. Yeah.
That is a mouthful.
Our sarcoma is what I've been calling it.
Okay. So they can go check it out on Google.
Yep.
If there's more information on that.
Yep.
Way that you can help to fund and do research and do all those things is to purchase a copy of the book.
Yeah, buy the book.
Or both, digital or physically, when it comes out.
Yep.
From the launch date of the digital.
Yeah, so it'll the physical book will come out late February, early March.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. I'd heard earlier, so that's.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be earlier, just because we got to line up printing and a few other things in the background. And the other tricky part is, so everybody knows, the audio chapters have to come in for us to be able to sell the physical book. There's a reason for that, but so we're giving ourselves, because it's tough to herd 28 cats, making sure that we have nice clean audio for all 28. I have told Jake that we're giving ourselves until March to make sure that happens, in case.
I am so glad that I'm guilt-free in this, because I have submitted.
There you go. You are off the proverbial hook, my friend.
Awesome. So one more time, just how do we get a hold of you, Michael? Really briefly, just really quickly, what's the best way to get a hold of you? Is it through your YouTube channel, or is it
the YouTube channel? I'm on there I'm on the YouTube channel every day, answering comments and stuff like that and talking to people. So we do lots of shorts, lots of YouTube stuff. By the way, quick marketing tip for anybody here. YouTube Shorts. Do not sleep on YouTube Shorts for the next 2 years. Very powerful, will most likely surpass TikTok and its value in the digital marketing space. I know that's blasphemous to say, but it's probably true.
Well, reels and all that are very popular right now, TikTok, and so
yeah. But there's a reason why YouTube Shorts are going to be so incremental or so influential, and I won't dive into that now. But ultimately, find me on YouTube, Marketing Wizards Inner Circle, Wizards with an S, Marketing Wizards Inner Circle. My wife is a huge Harry Potter fan, so I had to do something with wizards. So Marketing Wizards Inner Circle. You can find me at michaelbridgman.ca. And or you can find
for those who can't, who are
no listening. Michael Bridgman, Bridgman. Or they can also find our software at bamo.io. So you can check out our really awesome tip to tail client journey software, CRM, etc. at bamo.io.
Awesome. I want to thank you today for stopping in, Michael. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure, Keith.
For promoting and all the nice things you had to say about me. I really appreciate that. That was definitely unsolicited. I'm a little turned red a little bit here and there. But thank you very much for stopping in today and enlightening our listeners on exactly what it takes to create a book and why you want to do that.
Yeah.
And also to, do a little bit of shameless promotion on the new book, which comes out in about 2 weeks.
Yeah, December the 3rd. Ebook launch. Pick it up for just a couple bucks.
Very exciting. Couple bucks. All proceeds go to charity. So come and participate. And I think that's a wrap.
All right. Thanks so much. It's been a pleasure serving the audience, Keith. Hope we got great value.
Have a great rest of the day.
You too. Ciao.
Bye for now.